regular meeting, City of East Ridge City Council, February 14, 2019. Order. Mr. Manning, will please come and lead us in our invocation and pledge. Lord, rise.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come to thy holy. Thank you, Lord, tonight for the beautiful day, Father. There's all those sick of this day, Father, that each one of you on the council and the mayor. And God, we know that, Father, you know when keep us going. That will be what your house will be. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Christ, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank God.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you up and loud.
That's it. Wrong man, one boy.
Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dalton. Here. Councilmember Cagle.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Witt. Here. Assistant City Manager Custer.
Here.
City Attorney Mitchell.
Here. Next, we have our consent agenda. Assuming everyone's read the approval minutes of the January 24th regular work session and the minutes of the January 24th regular council meeting and the declaration of surplus property. Do we have a motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. We have a motion by Councilmember Witt and a second by Councilmember Chauncey. Do we have any discussion? Roll call, Ms. Middleton.
Vice Mayor Helton. Yes. Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Witt. Yes. Mayor Williams.
Yes. Next, we will move into communications from citizens. The opportunity for any citizen or business owner to come forward, speak to the council, ask questions, give you approximately 5 minutes. The first I have is Connie Blake. Please give us your name and your address first.
My name is Connie Blake, and I live at 839 Belvoir Hills Drive. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Forgive me for reading, but I do better. I was not raised in East Ridge, but moved to the Brainerd area nearly 50 years ago. I enjoyed coming over to Ringgold Road to shop at Loveland's, other specialty stores, the toy shop, Kingwood Pharmacy, among other places. Eventually, my husband and I moved to Harrison, so trips to Ringgold Road for shopping just didn't happen anymore. 6 years ago, we downsized and we moved to East Ridge. I love living in East Ridge and feel comfortable and safe where I live. I started attending council meetings not quite a year ago. It's been an eye-opening experience. I've sat here and listened to people talk about how the tunnel end of Ringgold Road has gone down. It's easily seen just by driving over that way. Now I have to make a disclaimer here. I am not a spokesperson for this business. Recently I was at my dentist office. His office is in the Amiga Strip on Ringgold Road, and he informed me that he was moving his office down toward exit 1. I expressed my dismay about the move and said when businesses like yours move out, there's nothing to move in. He told me, and I quote, "This end of Ringgold Road is dead, dying. Some of my patients no longer feel comfortable coming here because of the empty storefronts and others that are not appealing or offer shopping opportunities. I need more office space, and the rent for the space I want is much lower at the other end of Ringgold Road than where I currently am. This was a shock to me. You as a realtor probably know this. I was just surprised that that's the way it is. And he said, why should I pay more for less? I know there isn't much the city can do about rents these LLCs charge, but is there something that can be done to push these owners to improve their properties so that we can get businesses down that way? My point in coming before you is simply to say businesses are going to come to the tunnel end if they have to pay more for less space, and space that probably needs cosmetic work at least done on it before they can move in and open. So we can talk about the businesses and improvements happening at Exit 1 and Camp Jordan, but what can we do about the other end? What can be done to limit the tattoo places, check cashing places, dollar stores? We come to council meetings and we speak up, but are we really making a difference? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
A few of those points that were made I can address, and I'll start with check cashing title on pawn shops. Several years back, the East Ridge City Council adopted an ordinance to not eliminate check cashing place by zoning, but to set parameters on where they can go. So at that time, a list was generated on all the open businesses that fit into that category. Now there are certain criteria, like no one can't come in and open within 1,000 foot of another, and one can't open within 500 foot of a residential lot line. Now, many of you know that a residential lot line borders just about every space on Ringo Road. So the idea was to not abolish it, but to limit the amount due to the number. So that was some action that was legislative action that took place a few years ago. I don't disagree with you about the state of the other end of Ringo Road. I can tell you that over the last 24 months, the majority of our time for economic development purposes have been focused on that end. Every investor, every developer, every person that we can pitch that end of Ringo Road to, we do. The traffic's there. Some of the owners that we've met with that own large facilities, such as the one that you're speaking about, I met with just a month ago and 2 months ago, and he's working on a land negotiation. He advised me that if he sold the property, that he was going to work with us through the facade grant program to rehab that facility. And I've seen the rendering of it. We're hopeful that he follows through. So like I say, we're working diligently to get that in. The sidewalk, streetscape plan, all of that, all the enhancements that's going to happen on that end, we feel that it could really turn that around. And then we're well into the engineering phase of that. And as a matter of fact, as you heard a little while ago, we're moving into the right-of-way phase all the way along the road. So we're very hopeful. I've had some developers talk about the Kingwood Pharmacy building. So there's a lot of things that just don't materialize overnight.
I think part of the problem for me was I don't feel informed about some of these things. And I mean, I'm not saying you all aren't being transparent, but I'm just saying that I don't feel informed about all of these, and these are important to each and every one of us who are here. So I appreciate the feedback that you are giving me, us, for my comments. So,
Yes, and moving forward after tonight, if you didn't pick one up, I was going to discuss that in a minute. It's our monthly report, and it will have meetings and such that took place. It may not have exact names of who we met with, but it will have an area or location, as long as it's not confidential because of sale or purchases or whatever. But we're trying to get as much information out there as possible about what we do.
thank you.
Yes, we are. It's a great recap, but we haven't ignored it. We're not ignoring it. We're desperately working on trying to improve that area as well. Thank you. Next, we have Gretchen Henker.
Hello, thank you for hearing me, everyone. Thanks, nice to meet you, Mayor. This will be my first time coming to a
council meeting. I lived in East Ridge for 17 years. My son will be 17 coming up in October. So I'm very proud of him, just want to say that.
Thank you.
I
If I
think-
could get you to give me your, of course, your name and your address, please.
Yes, my name is Gretchen Henniger. Address is going to be 5308 DuPont Street here in East Ridge.
Thank you.
I just want to come and support some fellow business owners and property management people that are in the area that really give a lot to our community that some people might not realize. I am here to support the apartments that are the duplex or apartment complex that's supposedly to be built, hopefully will be. I just want to say that I really think it would bring a lot of money and a lot more traffic down here to the area that would actually put in business, some more businesses for the area. Now, I know that there's been things said about the owners and stuff, and I would just like to say that as I was looking on our Facebook, you know, we all have our Facebooks and we look on there, and we kind of expect our fellow citizens to be honest. But I had noticed a post that was posted by a gentleman, don't know him, his name is Charles McLaughlin, I don't know what he looks like, couldn't even point him out in this room. But he put up a picture on his Facebook of a raggedy apartment complex that's supposed to be representing the new complex, which was, you know, that we were speaking of. And I just want to say how much I was offended by the fact that he put the nastiest picture he could find up there and said that's what the apartments are. And I just wanted to state that and just come here to support other people that are for more growth in our community. Not everybody wants to buy a home or can buy a home. But these apartments are luxury apartments that I don't think people realize that we need in this community, not some, you know, cheap, you know, that might cause more problems. I just feel like it would be an investment for the future of East Ridge to have more people, more traffic, more people to do business in East Ridge. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Next, we have Gary Parker. Yes, sir.
My name is Gary Parker. I live at 1517 Maxwell Road. And I'm here tonight to talk with you about one of our hidden treasures out here off of Exit 1, what I want to call a diamond in the rough. And that is the Camp Jordan facility, and especially with regards to the arena. I was out there today and I talked with Adam Wilson and bumped some ideas off him about some possibilities of doing some things out there. And one of the things that I suggested was, in addition to the current building there, we could actually put a multi-purpose sports facility attached to that, and you could probably get the funding through the Tennessee Municipal Bond Funds. And you could also obtain a lot of money from a facility name person to, you know, name the facility for a number of years. It could be a corporate such as VW, EPB, somebody like that. And the main purpose of it would be you would have to bring a minor league hockey team to Chattanooga. And there's a couple of areas right now that are open for that. You have the Southern Professional Hockey League, which has teams in Birmingham, Huntsville, Knoxville, and then you have the East Coast Hockey League. But I believe that the fit here would be for a Southern Professional Hockey League team. And do a 6,000 seat arena that could be used not only for the hockey team, which would be the main tenant, but you could have basketball, soccer games, concerts, this type of thing. And it would bring a lot of revenue to the East Ridge area and the Hamilton County. So I just wanted to run that by you and do what you guys thought about.
Appreciate you coming forward. We definitely agree that it is a great asset for our community, and it is a diamond. If you want to speak a little bit toward.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, I can briefly discuss. So obviously, we're doing some of the upgrades out there now. Those were designed as an initial phase to get started. Really and truly, the direction we need to go is to identify all the needs for the park and create a master plan. It's something that we can work towards. It's not something you have to do today, but creates the steps to move forward. It's like I said in the last meeting. My fear with anything is starting a project and not finishing it. So if we have that plan and guidance, I feel like that will take us in a direction and make sure that we're actually establishing the all the fields and usage and everything that we possibly need for many, many years to come. Because that's what we have. That's our draw.
Right, yes. But this would be a good draw, for the area. You'd have a lot of revenue off of the games, and then of course you could have concerts, this type of thing in the building. Hockey is only from October to March usually. So have that in there. And one place that I mentioned to Adam today was right now would be a good time to maybe hit Volkswagen up, since they're going to be introducing this new car. If you got the right proposal to them, I think they would listen, because they want to be part of the community. And what better way to do it than have the VW arena?
I can promise we are in discussion with a lot of individuals to create these public-private partnerships.
Okay, so I would like to take this into consideration.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. Next, we have Jan Sean.
I'm Jan Shawn, and I live at 1034 South Seminole Drive. And I'm here to protest the ordinance 1080 of the new apartment complex, because it's going to exit right onto South Seminole Drive, where I've lived for 39 years. The exit that they've got planned, at least in the letter, is very close to the intersection. And if you're trying to turn left to go through the tunnel down to go to work downtown, it's going to be almost impossible. You've also got the ESL school bus stopping right before the storage units, and that makes it difficult too. I'd also like to know, how many units are they planning for this complex?
I believe it's 16.8 units per acre, which comes up to about 80.
80. Approximately 80.
Okay, well, you can see with that one exit, trying to get onto South Seminole with very, very little space. It's not like the apartments down there where the Bimini apartments are, where you've got some revving room. This is right there. And I don't know if they're going to put a light up or what, but it would be within 200 feet of a light. So this is my main concern, the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Next, we have Marvin Scott.
Hello. I'm Marvin Scott. I live at 1041 South Seminole Drive, East Ridge. And I'm here to voice opposition to the apartment complex that's going up. We built our house in 1993, so we've been there since then. And when we first moved in, there was a moratorium on the sewer line, and I don't know if they ever lifted that. I guess they did. I guess they make special consideration for an apartment complex, but when we first moved in, they said you have to put in a sewer line, well, you have to put in a septic tank. And so we put in a septic tank, and then later on, they lifted the moratorium, and somebody came into my yard and were trying to bust my septic tank. But my point being, I don't know from a sewer standpoint if this would work. I guess somebody's done a study on that.
Currently, there's only one moratorium in Eastridge, and it's not on South Seminole.
Okay, and then also, years later, we tried to buy some property that we wanted to develop into a duplex, and they said, well, no, there's a moratorium on duplexes. So here again, moving forward, I'm wondering how this is able to be accomplished if there's a moratorium. And I don't know if there's still a moratorium on duplexes or multi-family units, but years ago there was. And so then also, last time I was up here, I asked if somebody would do a traffic study, and I guess they're going to talk about that tonight. And then I also asked if somebody had done a crime study, because the Bimini Apartments are right down the road from me. And then I think it's the Ridgeview Apartments. I'm not really sure what the name of those apartments are. Years ago, the police were called out there all the time, and I don't know, I requested that somebody look at that from a crime standpoint. I retired from the FBI, and so I know a lot about crime. I think it's important for Eastridge to look at that. We don't want a huge crime problem. There already was a crime problem up in that area. I'm sure there still is, but I was wondering if anybody did a crime study to see what would happen if you could take the crime statistics from both of those apartments and say, well, this might be a model to say this is what's going to happen. And then also somebody mentioned the traffic. I think that would be a major concern. And then the value of housing. The neighbors in the area do not want their value of their housing that they invested in to go down because an apartment complex went up. Without us, years ago when I first bought my property, I had no idea that there was going to be anybody come along and say, well, we're going to put an apartment complex just down the road from you, and that's going to affect your house, your cost of, your property values. So with those things in mind, I'm voicing my opposition to this plan. And I don't know how many people are here that, when they put the form out, there was only enough room for 5 people. So I don't know how many other people are here in opposition, but I wonder if there would be a way for somebody to, like a show of hands, and even if that would matter. So is that something that we can do?
We allow, even if you don't even get your name on the list, we allow people to come up.
Okay.
During communication with citizens. We also are going to have a public hearing, so it'll be another opportunity for citizens or business owners to get up and also address the council concerning the public hearing, which will occur when we get into item A on our business.
Okay. I'm not opposed to growth in Eastridge. As a matter of fact, my wife and I talked about it. My wife's here. Her name is Lily. We talk about growth in Eastridge, and we're all for growth, but I think this is the wrong kind of growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next we have Kirby Johnson. Maybe I'm not pronouncing it. Johnson?
Yeah. I'm here.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Johnson. I live at 3138 Seminole Crest Lane. I've been there for 40 years. And I'm here to protest the apartment complex that you're looking at up on Seminole. I don't know what kind of traffic survey you've had, but Seminole Drive is like a runway from the time you leave Ringo Road till you get to the crest of the hill. If you know where Seminole Crest Lane is, I there's been 7 real bad wrecks right there. That's where I live, right there. And also, you don't have any sidewalks for those kids. And everybody's walking up and down Seminole Drive. And one young man got killed down there about, 5 years ago. He got hit by a car. Now, I don't know what kind of traffic you can make to get away from an apartment complex with the traffic's there. In the mornings, from roughly 7:30 to 8:30, you can't even get out of your driveway. You've got the Bentley apartments, and you've also got the duplexes all around, and then of course the duplex across the street from me. So I don't see where in the world we can use any more apartments, particularly there. Of course, how many apartments you say there would be?
80 units.
80 units, well, that's what, 2 cars per unit, 160 more cars or more, trying to get out of that particular area. And the people that's been down the street from me and my neighbors, we're kind of looking at our appreciation on our house. They're going to depreciate us plumb out of the neighborhood. How far back, and I can't remember this, I should, can you go back from Ringo Road and make it into the business? How many feet?
I believe it's 25.
How much?
25.
25 from Ringo Road. But how far can you go down Seminole Drive and change that into a business?
As far as you would like.
As far as you like?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the hour of the parcel. If anybody designs, if they purchase a parcel of land and they come through and go through the zoning process, there's nothing that says that you can't rezone a parcel further down. Now, we prefer that you don't spot zone, which was done over the last 40 years inadvertently here.
I knew that this is spot zoning.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to eliminate.
But you can't go down and take, say for instance, you're using this particular situation. You're going down to the little market there in the house next door. Now, can you go down to the next house and the next house and the next house? If you want to get a rezone, there's no limit.
You could.
There used to be, I thought. But I just don't see how we can do this and make it safe for the people and our property values also. And there needs to be a sidewalk. Those people walking down all in our yards, which I don't care if you walk in my yard, but they leave their trash with them. But there's somebody gonna get killed. That one kid got killed, and I know 7 wrecks on that one particular place right there where I live, where that rise is. So we need to get some sidewalks. I'm guessing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Eddie Meadows.
Betty Meadows, I live at 1029 and 1031 South Seminole Drive. I have lived there for 37 years. I know Mr. Johnson. I know where he pulls out at. He's great like where he's coming out at. That would solve his problems. I'm here to support PJ. I've known PJ way before he ever got married. It's good for our community. We need an upscale, something out in that end of town for the 37 years that I've lived here. And I don't oppose PJ building this beautiful complex. It's going to be gated, and it will not be a security problem. And to the FBI guy, where were you September the 30th, 2010, when my husband and I were attacked at our home at 1029 South Seminole Drive? And my husband died from his injuries. That was a son-in-law that did that. Not a criminal. Crime happens to everyone. But we all need to go forward and have a beautiful city. This end of the city, you go past the police department, it starts looking pretty. That part, no. We have used car lots, tattoo parlors, and nothing against church. We got enough churches already. I love God. And I didn't mean to make like I said, I love God. I gave my life to God when I was 9 years old. However, I want to improve my community that I live in. And I do believe that this is going to be a huge asset. We need the support he needs to support for this project. It's gonna be a beautiful project. We've got the extra VW plant that's coming in. Those people are gonna need a nice place to live, and they're not gonna wanna live in a Section 8 apartment complex, which is what Bimini is not Bimini anymore, but that's what it is. And this would be a big asset to the street, in my opinion, so I'm for it, PJ. Thank you.
Thank you. That is all I have signed in. Is there anyone else that would like to come and address the council?
Is it okay if Chattanooga resident who orders this property says a word?
Actually, it is for residents and business owners.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Anyone else? Yes. All right, we'll move to communications from council members. Yes, sir.
I don't know whether this is about time. Things about the apartment. I'm James City. I live at 423 Pine Brook Drive. And Mayor, could I approach the council?
Yes, sir.
I own the property at 1001 South Seminole, which backs up to this property. And I have several concerns about this property. And you can see by the pictures there, some of my concerns. One is the stormwater runoff, as you can see in the picture. The ground level is about 10 feet higher than the retaining wall where I'm standing there, that close to the building. The retaining wall behind the convenience store next door is already down. You can see that in the picture. This is about 50 feet from the picture of behind my building. We have employees working on the other side of that building wall. Another concern is the traffic. I understand they did a traffic study. What time of the day did they do the traffic study? That's very important. And if there's 80 apartments in the building, that means at least 100 cars in this area, where that there will be a safe place for the children to catch the bus. Also, there does not look like enough level land for this project about what the sewer, about the sewer capacity of the apartments.
It'll still have to go through the final approval, no matter what, through the sewer department. So it'll actually, once they send the designs, they'll calculate the flow. So even if it gets rezoned, that could still be denied in that permit process.
Okay, that's a concern of mine. And I've already read in the newspaper that they're having a hard time downtown renting their apartments. They're really giving the first month rent free. They are already hundreds more under construction. I'm afraid if these apartments are built, they will not rent and be turned into Section 8. And the view these apartments are going to have are on top of our building and Tom's Carpet, which is here, he's against the dock. That would be the view in the side of Missionary Ridge. I own residential and commercial property in the west end of East Ridge, and I fully support the growth in that end of the city, but this is not the right location for the property. We do not need any more apartments, complexes or duplexes in East Ridge. I ask that you vote no on this project. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Sure. Question? Thank you, Mr. City.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else? Seeing none, I will move to communication from council members. Councilmember Cagle, do you have anything?
No, sir, not this time.
Vice Mayor Hilton? Councilmember Johnson?
No, sir.
Councilmember Witt?
I would like to thank Adam Wilson. He was my speaker at the Optimist Club the other night. He did a fantastic job of presenting information on Camp Jordan. Anyone that would like to hear this, he'll be doing it again Saturday at the mayor's meeting. Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you. Is your mic turned on?
Oh. Really repeat it?
If you'd like to.
Oh.
Could you hear?
Could you hear me? Okay. Well, thank you, Adam. I appreciate it.
I have a few things. One is I would like to congratulate Mr. Custer for completion of the Certified Public Manager Program. Great job. I would also like to congratulate Mr. Leachford for going out, creating his own law firm. He's no longer with Grant Condolinka, but he is, his law firm is
Litchford, Pierce and Associates. We're in the kind of the Midtown area over there near the East Gate, Osborne, Felton Center.
very happy for you. Continue to work with you. Appreciate what you do for us. One other bit of news I'll share is with the property we're looking at for the animal shelter, that is no longer an option for us. We were countered and we were not given an option to make a counter offer back. So that property was sold to someone else. However, we are looking at other avenues, other options. So stay tuned and we'll continue to work toward a location for an animal shelter.
This isn't going away. It's just a small setback.
Correct.
I promise.
The other thing I wanted to mention is we, in discussion with Assistant City Manager, we're going to look at actually bringing forward a discussion on O'Brien School, see if we want to move forward with renovation, if we want to look at doing something with that facility. We know that the police and fire department are pretty overran. We've got some issues with the facility itself. So we'll bring that forward to see if there's something that we can utilize in the property that we own, which could entail possibly moving those and selling that property since it's on Ringgold Road and it's in the border region to offset any expense. But that's something that we'll present to council and see how they would like to proceed. And then lastly I have is the second Meet the Mayor, which will be February the 16th, 10 a.m. at Local Coffee. Mr. Wilson, our Parks and Rec Director, is going to be joining me and he's going to be discussing the things that are going on in Camp Jordan with the $2.3 million upgrade and activities and things like that. So everyone, council as well, is more than welcome to come and join us at 10 o'clock this Saturday. Local Coffee. That's all I have. City Manager.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, I have just a few things, and and citizens. Most of you hopefully were able to pick up a copy of the monthly report for January. This report will detail actions and legislative actions that have taken place over the course of the month. We will try to have that ready the first or second meeting of the following month, because that data has to come in as it relates to the street department, Parks and Rec on events, finance, meetings that Human Resources have, meetings that I have, meetings that finance conducts, any economic development endeavors that take place. It also will cover business license and all legislative action that took place within that month. It's a comprehensive report that we plan on being as efficient as possible. It will help us track stats, even as it relates to police. I know a lot of people have, want to see police department stats and also, the number of crashes, so on and so forth. All those stats will be available to you also. And it's essentially going to serve as checks and balances. You all will have the information to hold us accountable, make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. It will be on the website by tomorrow, and everybody will have access to download. We will archive it, and you will be able to look back, hopefully 2 years from now, and go to any report that you want. The other one more thing that I have, I'd like to briefly discuss, because it actually just happened today. Staff asked me to come to the front conference room and look briefly at a set of plans. The Life Care Center is going to start their new phase. It's going to be an independent and assisted living facility. It'll be roughly 900 foot long and 4 stories. It'll be 140 units, and the cost is going to be in excess of $40 million. It's absolutely gorgeous. It will be the main thing that you see on Ringgold Road down there. It was amazing to look at. So they're planning to break ground in April, so it's going to move rather rapidly. So we're excited to have that project going. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Kudos on the monthly report. That is awesome.
Staff did a fantastic job.
Yes, you and staff. It takes a team. I think we have a great team. Appreciate it. All right. We will move into old business. Item A, public hearing for ordinance 1080, zoning of 1023 South Seminole and 3118 Ringgold Road. We'll open this public hearing. Do we have anyone that wants to come and address that is for or against this rezoning?
Charles McCall, 1214 Reeves Avenue. Before I make myself unpopular here, I just want to say thanks again for this report. This is a great idea. Okay. I'd like to talk for a minute about the South Seminole rezone. I've heard some of this before back in September, but so far none of my concerns have been addressed, so I'm going to say some of these again. I'm still concerned about traffic. A traffic study has been done, but we have our engineers check that. I think we were going to have our engineers check the traffic study.
They viewed and confirmed that it would be accurate.
They confirmed it, okay. I would just ask y'all keep in mind this traffic study is coming from the same man who, at the planning commission, tried to tell them that traffic had never backed up past his store in 12 years. So just keep that in mind. I'm still concerned about drainage. Looking at the 2 lots that this is going to be on GIS, there's a 100-foot drop from one corner to the far corner. I know it's still got to go through the WWTA process.
And Hamilton County Water Quality to make sure that it's captured.
Okay, I just want to make sure I say about that, because I'm sure we've all had problems with WWTA. We know how they are, so just keep that in mind too. I'm still concerned about the rent level. Mr. Patel wants to charge $12.50 for a two-bedroom apartment. Back when this first came up in September, I went looking for two-bedroom apartments to prepare for this. The average for East Ridge was somewhere around $800. The highest I found was $895 at Longmont. Now that was back in September. I don't know if that's changed, but just for a point of reference. I mean, sure, you can charge $12.50 for a two-bed downtown for an apartment with water view and access to Carter. These apartments are going to have a pavement view and access to Eastwood. $12.50 price point is either a pipe dream or the typical fast one on this council. Above all, I'm concerned about the crime this becomes. Now, before I get all the Germantown Gardens people mad at me, I'm by no means against clean, well-run, nice apartments. I have nothing against apartment people. I mean, y'all have a great community over there, and you should be proud of it. I mean, you people on council too know that I'm reasonable. I mean, I changed my mind and spoke out for the Sweet Bay rezone because that developer bent over backwards to address every concern the community had. I'm not against apartments. I'm against this particular complex. Last time, I spoke about all the police calls to Mr. Patel's convenience store as an indicator of how he runs businesses. After that meeting, he let me know, he said, hey, take a look at the Days Inn City Cafe downtown. That's a nice business, right? And I thought, okay, I'll take a look. It's more like an apartment complex. Maybe I misjudged. I put in an information request to the Chattanooga Police Department. From 2015 to 2018, at Mr. Patel's downtown property, there were 734 police incidents. That includes, let's see, 151 disorders, 30 drugs or intoxications, 30 fights, assaults, weapons involved, domestic violence kind of things, 103 thefts, 6 sex crimes, 2 shootings at a property Mr. Patel owns.
Hey, Charles, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. What was the span?
Tell you what, January 2015 to December 2018 for you. I'll email you this list if you want. Last week at the Best Western, Mr. Patel also owns. This last week there were 2 break-ins into rooms where management knew the door locks were broken but didn't bother to fix them. I mean, if they won't fix door locks, how do you think they're going to approach just run-of-the-mill apartment managers? I mean, these are residential, they're hotels, they're sort of residential properties. We have evidence of how Mr. Patel runs residential properties. I don't think we need another one like that in East Ridge. Please vote no on this. Thank you.
William Lane, 1025 South Seminole. First, I'd like to thank the council and especially Kenny Custer for keeping us up to date on the progress on this particular issue. Very helpful. I have, as you might know from the address, I live exactly next door to the property that you're looking to rezone. My bedroom window is about 20 feet from where the driveway is scheduled to be with all these cars coming in and out. And that is a concern. I've talked with Mr. Patel since I have been here this evening. He's given me some verbal assurances of things like buffers, trees, screening, this kind of thing. And that makes me feel a little better if they happen. It's my understanding that the council is only rezoning the property and that any changes or anything to enforce the actual project will be separate from this. Is that correct?
So, between high density and low density residential, which is high density residential being apartment complex, low density being single family. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 20-foot landscape buffer that's required to be in between that. But you could also, or the council, as part of the rezoning process, can state certain stipulations that would apply to that property, no matter what skid's built on it.
Okay. The map that is on the board over here, what you'll be looking at later, shows the drive from South Seminole to the apartment complex, just virtually on my property line. So I've talked to Mr. Patel, and he has verbally assured me he can move it over and put buffer zone screening in there, whatever. And that would be helpful if this project does go through. I do have concerns also about the traffic. I won't be able to get out of my driveway in the morning and the evening, so that's, I'm retired and I don't go anywhere anyway, so that's not a major problem. But it is for the folk who still have to work and pay my Social Security. The gentleman a while ago from the awning property mentioned the fact that the apartments downtown are not renting. I've read that same article, and it says that we're not even half filling the units that they're building in the downtown area. So that seems to me would affect the usage of these 80 units, because they're not going to be just for people who live in East Ridge. It's my understanding that it would be for people who live there and work in the Chattanooga area. So I have a concern that, like he said, that these things won't rent. The rent will have to be lowered to attract people, and it won't attract the kind of people that we'd like to have living next door to us. That's about all I have right now. I appreciate your consideration, and thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else?
Jonathan Hudson, 274 Eastview Drive, Chattanooga, Tennessee. My wife and I, we moved to this home approximately a year and a half ago, and property values being what they are, we're concerned that an apartment complex would bring that down. I'm not a stranger to East Ridge. I actually grew up in East Ridge, went to East Ridge Elementary, and moved out to Georgia after that, but we're back close enough. And I'm concerned about property values. My biggest thing, we're also landlords. We own property in North Chattanooga, and we rent, and we know kind of what the market brings. And if I was going to put an apartment complex in, first thing I would do is I would buy up the awning shop, and I would buy up Tom's Carpets. I would make sure that I didn't have this view of these industrial buildings next to luxury apartments. So that's my concern, is that when you bring in some kind of new business, whether it's apartments or what have you, that you make sure that it fits into the zoning of everything else, that it's uniform. And just knowing what they're going to charge versus what the market will bear right now, I just think they're going to have to come down on the rates. That's going to, change the dynamics of the situation. And basically, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, sorry.
1210 Reeves Avenue. Well, my main concern was the traffic too. Do you guys ever had a vision of opening up the tunnels more? Because that's exactly what you're gonna need. Seriously. 7:30 in the morning. It's jammed. It's all the way down to bed. Seriously, they're cutting through our street. To think about getting, so that they don't have to stop at that stop sign at Bennett and South Central. Then there's a line. You not only have people that work, but you have college students trying to get to class, going through the tunnel. Something's gonna have to give. 80 units equals, well, from what I'm, 2.5 kids, 2.5 cars per unit. That's a lot of traffic right there. That's my main concern. The apartments are gorgeous. But, you know, like the surrounding areas need to be bought up and traffic needs to be rerouted somehow, some way. So it doesn't hold up all these people that are already held up all the way to Bennett on South Seminole at 7:30 in the morning. If you guys haven't been down there, you need to go. Oh, it's fun. You just sit there and sit there and sit there, inch up a little bit and sit there. Oh, it's a great time. That's all I have to say today.
Thank you. Could you, ma'am, could you give us your name one more time? We didn't catch it, I'm sorry.
Nikki Heck, H-E-C-K, like Nikki Heck.
What's your address, Nikki?
1210 Reeves Avenue.
I'm Sue Colette, and I live at 1120 South Seminole, almost directly across from the Bimini Apartments, which is sad enough. But we've been there for 33 years. We've raised our children there, and now we have a granddaughter that we're helping to raise there. And I'm really, my husband and I are both opposed to these apartments. We feel like it's going to impact our property values, which I believe have already gone down because of the area. That end of East Ridge has really gone downhill. It's the traffic. I requested years and years ago after my son was hit on Seminole for a mirror to be put up so we could see, we turn out on Waukulla. And they put a mirror up so we could see oncoming traffic, but refused to put in any kind of control on the road. It's a main thoroughfare from Georgia, and it is, and they race, and you can't get out. And you put all those cars there, it's going to be even worse. We have to go around and go out on Bennett because the traffic on Seminole, it's dangerous. And we are just opposed and are feeling like if this happens, we're going to have to sell our house and leave the area because I just don't think it's a good thing for East Ridge. Let's keep it residential, single-family houses. Let's bring more families in and not pack into an apartment building that, as the other people said, $1,250. Not going to lend them for that. You're going to end up with Section 8 housing. That's what I see.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I already spoke. Can I say something else? Because somebody touched on something that I'd quite like to stand up.
Again, I'm Marvin Scott, 1041 South Seminole Drive. When it rains in our neighborhood, and people can tell you, it's like a river runs through it, because it's just, the levels come up, and for several days it's like that. So when you know, and it doesn't have to rain long, but when it rains, it's just like a river of water coming down through there. And I was wondering, the way this apartment is set up, if the level is pitched towards the road or exactly how it's going to be. So hopefully somebody will address that later on. But if it's pitched towards the road or pitched down the hill, then that's going to cause a big problem. It already floods as it is. My next door neighbor, we both have water gushing down through there, and it pools in front of my neighbor's house. I don't know, Bob, does it pool in front of your house?
Yeah. A small swimming pool, small, about 3 foot deep.
So the water is another concern. I didn't think of that earlier when I was talking about it. So thank you for my additional time.
Do we have anyone else? Yes.
How is everybody? My name is John Bilderback. I live at 1045 South Seminole Drive. Known PJ for quite a few years. We've lived at South Seminole for I think, about 20 years, my wife and I. I can speak to the fact that on quite regularly, several mornings, traffic will be backed up past our house, which is almost a quarter of a mile from the red light. A lot of times this has to do with school buses kind of holding things up, but it creates a line because of the traffic that comes from North Georgia. I'm not as concerned about apartments. I think a few apartments in that area, maybe 8 to 10, with some small businesses underneath multi-use type of zoning might be appropriate. 80 apartments with 147 parking spaces seems to be a bit excessive and maybe overly visioned. I'm all for people looking to make improvements. I think that's an area that desperately needs it. But I think the prices that he's talking about doing, just because you say make something expensive doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to pay it. The market will determine what people will be willing to pay there. There is an overabundance of apartments being built in Chattanooga and in the surrounding neighborhoods around us. Most of the people that have moved to East Ridge over the past 5 years or so, their incomes aren't at a level that could afford $1,200 a month. I do think eventually, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, once the type of revitalization that is being done towards the interstate reaches our end of town, then yeah, maybe something like that would bring a rent of that value, but not for that number of apartments in that small of a space. The exit only that's in the schematics, there in front of the tunnels on Ringo, people fly up those tunnels. That is an accident waiting to happen. And I don't know what the number and the count of accidents are at that intersection where that red light is, but it's fairly frequent. Probably at least one a month. I don't know. But those are some things that happen quite regularly. Transfer trucks get stuck there all the time. So I would ask that you please don't support this. Like I said, I'm not against development for improvement of that area. I'm not even against some apartments. One last thing, in 2006, the city council did turn down a similar type project that only was calling for 10 apartments. So when people say that this is overly ambitious, I think that's a pretty good example in a relatively recent history where things like this have been brought about that same space. And I think that previous body saw a reason, and so I hope that you all will too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else?
My family owns the Pawnee Shop at 1001 South Seminole. At the present time, when one of our girls there by herself, we have to keep the door closed. And in the past, the apartment across Ringo Road, I don't even know the name or whether I think it was Section 8 at that time. They would come into our office so messed up that they thought they were in the convenience store next door. And now, there's some employees, I won't name any businesses in that area, that goes to the convenience store. They come out, they go behind the building where the wall is filled. smoke. I don't know what they smoke, but that's what's happening. But that is how bad the crime is in that area now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else? I see no one else. I will close this public hearing. I will ask for a quick recess before we move to item B. So, say 3 minutes, and we'll reconvene.